Welcome, welcome. This is Matthew Struck again with the Agents and Brokers Interest Group doing another agent and broker profile. Today we're joined by David Owen over at McGriff in the beautiful state of Texas. How's it going, David? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, I'm great, Matthew. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Yeah, so before we get rolling here and kind of dig into, your background and kind of how you got in the industry and whatnot, I just want to remind everyone, if you are watching this video, please, it helps us a lot if you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also if you want to like, comment, and share this video, that would be absolutely fantastic. Anyone who's not familiar with the format, this is just a way of us profiling agents and brokers that are out there in the industry to help folks get a feel for, who we are, what we do, and also to see that there's a bunch of people out there just like you that do what we do on an everyday basis. So we hope you enjoy it. All right, David, so really quick, we're going to get into this. The first thing that jumps out at me, just to give everyone a basic background, you're a senior VP over at McGriff. You worked with AJ Gallagher, I think, prior to this. But really the first thing that jumped out at me on your profile was you're kind of a legacy, right? What are you, fourth generation in the insurance industry?
Fourth generation. That's right. Fourth generation Texan, fourth generation in the insurance business. I guess it's in the blood, as they
Yeah.
say, and there's no escaping the business. But after business school, after college, I did spend 5 years about in corporate finance. So it didn't go straight into the business, but certainly found my calling about 13 years ago when I entered the insurance industry.
Awesome. So the other three generations, so to speak, were they all on the agent and broker side, or did they have varying positions throughout the industry?
Sure. So my great grandfather was on the carrier side, and he was propositioned by my grandfather for his daughter's hand in marriage. And he said, "That's great. You're a nice man, Arch. How are you going to support her?" And he said, "No, I love her, but I'm not sure." And he said, "Well, let me teach you the insurance business." And so my grandfather and father were on the broker side, and built their own agency. My dad was actually a lawyer and practiced law in Austin for the Texas Supreme Court for a while before joining my grandfather's agency. But no, my great grandfather worked for Universal Lloyd's and Trinity Fire, which are companies from the 20s and 30s and 40s. And then those merged to become a company called Unitrin. And I think ultimately they sold off a lot of their P&C business and other lines of commercial business, and exist today perhaps is just a life insurance company. But no, my grandfather and father, and really what I remember as a kid growing up, is very more on the commercial property casualty side, on the brokerage side.
What's funny is I'm not really first generation, right? So, I had a father who was a police officer, and I had a mother who was in the sciences. I didn't really grow up around a household that was in insurance or talked insurance. What was that like? I mean, as a kid, were you kind of exposed to the industry?
A little bit. You'd spend summer jobs in the mailroom. It was kind of the advent in the 80s and 90s of technology, and that was kind of a cool thing for a kid growing up. So I'd spend a lot of time with the IT folks and helping them troubleshoot and learn systems. And but then experientially around the dinner table, sure, I got exposed to some risk. I remember, one of my fondest memories was my dad went with one of his clients to the Middle East, and he specialized in the energy business. And they had, a client of his had made a major discovery in the country of Yemen. And, I was 8 or 9 years old at the time, and he was gone for 2 weeks, and he came back from Yemen and had all these cool stamps in his passport, but even more so pictures of folks that were wearing headdresses and burqas. And I'd never seen, as kid in the suburbs of Dallas, somebody with their face completely covered, just their eyes exposed. And he had brought back shawls and even a kind of a encrusted dagger that was something to keepsake from his time over there. And so, I remember them taking trips and then going in their office, of course, and there were pictures of offshore rigs and wells flaring and blowouts, and that was a specialty of their agency, was offshore oil and gas. So kind of those are some of the memories from the insurance business growing up.
That's pretty incredible. That's really incredible. I think what a lot of people don't get if they're outside the industry is they don't understand just how much it's involved in, right? Yeah, I mean, it literally touches pretty much every aspect of business and life for that point. Um, I what do you typically work on? I mean, you were at Gallagher for a while. You were at McGriff now. Are you kind of a generalist, or do you have a couple of areas that you really focus on?
Well, I'd say I have a major and a minor. I'm grateful to CPCU to uh, develop the confidence and feel like I could benefit and serve clients in any industry. But my
Not a
major
one-trick
has been
pony.
not a not a one
Yeah.
trick pony, but I think like any professional consultative business, it behooves you and really helps you add value to the client to specialize. Everything's advancing so much. So you see in law firms, they're specialized in energy or real estate, accounting firms, consulting and whatnot. So insurance is really no different there. So my specialty, really based upon straight out of college, was finance for real estate, and so my specialty is commercial real estate companies, and those are large portfolios of owners of buildings and developers of buildings, all occupancy types: office, retail, industrial, multifamily, and and then yeah, from that childhood experience, take a deep personal pride in energy. It's a big industry down here in Texas,
Mhm.
and so serve companies predominantly in the upstream energy space, which means exploration and production companies, the companies that poke straws into the ground and pull out gas and uh, petroleum products,
Yeah.
and the contractors that serve that industry, and so those are kind of my two focus areas. Feel very strong in commercial real estate, which dovetails into developers, and then also upstream energy companies.
Awesome, awesome. So, in helping those, those two sectors of the industry, or those two different industries, um, what would you say is your favorite part of that? I mean, in terms of interacting with the clients, or what you kind of achieve on a day-to-day basis.
Um, I'd say twofold. That I think that any career, calling, profession, you have to feel good about it. You've got to feel like there's some level of altruism to it. And where I find that in commercial insurance is, first, on the front end evaluation. If I can go meet a company for the first time and earn the right to evaluate their insurance program, which really starts with understanding their business and their specific risk tolerance philosophy, and then digging into how they've structured coverage, why, and then find ways to maybe structure it more efficiently. Now, a company saved $300,000 or $400,000. They can go hire three or four people and put them on the payrolls, and there's three or four more families who are providing for their own families, and paying for their own kids' school and providing health insurance to their family and have more stability. So I love the fact of being able to roll up your sleeves, learn about companies, and add value to their existing insurance program by doing a detailed due diligence and analysis. The second part is, of course, where the rubber meets the road, as they say, when the claim happens. When a company, typically business owners, their company is their livelihood, and their livelihood is their family. And if that fortuitous loss happens, and they need to know that you've got their back, you've got your arm around them, and you're going to help them and their employees and their families get through this terrible, unfortunate event that struck them. So I love when I remember my very first client. It was a Sunday afternoon. I've got the kids in the little seat part of the stroller, and we're in Sam's Club.
Mm.
And Tim, my first client, is calling me over and over, and I was like, gosh, this is strange to call on a Sunday. And I pick up the phone, and he had just started his own business, and the fourth floor of his first investment property started leaking, and it flooded the third, second, and
Oh no.
lobby, which is a big, expensive bank branch. And
Uh,
you know, David, what do I do? I've got tenants screaming at me, and my building's in peril, and my, can kind of see this new company that I've put everything into in jeopardy here. And we said, Tim, don't worry, this is what you have insurance for. We're going to call the carrier right away. It was Hartford at the time, and asked the adjuster to meet us first thing in the morning. We'll bring some claim support out there to help you and your tenants figure out what they're going to do to mitigate the impact from this event. And it all performed very well. So yeah, anyway, I just love helping people when they're concerned and about the safety of their business. And so those are the two things that I love about the business.
That's awesome. I think you went you covered a really wide spectrum there of the client relationship, right? Like the beginning kind of, I think it's funny, a lot of people, and I can't fault them for it. A lot of people think insurance agents and brokers are just sellers, right? Like that we're just salesmen that are just, take the product off the shelf and show it to the client and tell them that this is what they need. When in reality, it's more like a consulting business almost, right? You have to understand what they're doing. So, I love that you use that kind of the beginning of the life cycle, so to speak, or the beginning of the relationship cycle of kind of the get to know you and the analysis and whatnot. And then the other end of it being the piece that insurance is actually there for, right? And it's good that most clients don't ever have to deal with that end of the business. But it's even better when the client has to deal with it and we know that, we've done our job to take care of them and keep the doors open. So I love that kind of like imagery, like the start and the finish are the best parts. What would you say is the toughest thing you come up against on a day-to-day basis in terms of, whatever, if it's client interaction or just dynamics within the industry? What kind of hurdles do you face?
Good question. Well, I think there's a general hurdle that all of us experience in the industry, thanks to our chameleon friend at Geico, that 15 minutes can save you 15% or more. I mean, we've done ourselves a disservice of making it feel like insurance is a commodity and one size fits all. And if it's a product that you shop and it's off the shelf, and they're all the same. And so, helping folks overcome that belief and that there are nuances to the policy, that policies are manuscript and endorsed and customized to fit your specific needs, and that not all real estate owners are the same. I have some real estate owners that are REITs that the impetus is a consistent monthly dividend that must be paid, irrespective of what hurricane or loss can unfold. And so they're willing to pay higher premiums to have lower, consistent set deductibles. And then some clients that are long-term 20-year hold owners, and they're willing to take a little more risk and a little higher retentions to achieve lower premiums, because they know, actuarially speaking, the numbers say that that one loss every 10 years, it's going to be more than offset with the savings in premium achieved.
Yeah.
So I guess the industry, it's educating folks that there's a lot more tailor and thought and consultative guidance that goes into commercial insurance. And then I think that's maybe one of the biggest kind of overarching challenges. It's a challenge and a blessing. I mean, when you start really digging in with people, because then you meet people and they're just, gosh, I just don't understand insurance. It's just so complicated. How can GL cover property, but not if it's my property, and just the carve backs and then the coverage grants and so yeah.
It's the complexity of it. I totally agree with you. We definitely fight kind of the marketing question of how easy do you make it seem versus are you eroding the actual value of the overall product, right? And so I think we'll see that play out with InsurTech too. I think InsurTech is one of those things where there's some extremely complex processes and products within the market that are not getting dumbed down, so to speak, but there's more stress being put on the ease of the purchase and the ease of certain processes. And sometimes the clients you're working with, I think once you bring it to them and you get their ear, they understand, right? Like they get that just because something is easy doesn't mean it's the right fit for what they need it to do, right? um, and so yeah, I could totally see that. That's like I think that's going to play out over a long period of time. And I agree with you. The constant barrage of save this, save this, save this completely undermines the conversation that should be happening, right? And it's you get what you pay for. I'll spare the finer details, but it's like the movie Tommy Boy, where he's like, I can give you a box and mark it guaranteed. I got some free time, but like matters what's in it, um, no, so that's fantastic. I think that's a good take home for anyone kind of comes across this. Um, in terms of COVID, I mean, we were talking a little bit offline. I mean, has it really impacted you guys over there at McGriff, or has it kind of been, next man up and just, or next person up and just, figure out how to deal with it?
Um, it's certainly had a impact in terms of just normal routine of heading into the office. The Houston and Dallas branches were pioneers within the national network to go back to the office and start working again. We're at 25% capacity, and as some of the teammates say, it's so uncomfortable to come up here and so easy to work remotely and from home that really, we're customarily, there's 20 or 120 some odd people in the office. There's maybe 10 a day right now. So, but it's starting to catch up. I mean, since March, we've been this way. And I worked from home March, April, May. And then as soon as I had the chance to start going back into the office, I did. I just miss the interaction. Humans, we need human interaction and being able to meet with people and speak with them, albeit, appropriately masked and washing our hands and certifying that we're not sick and being very cognizant of others and cautious. I welcome the day when we're all back in the office collaborating.
Yeah.
We, Matthew, as you well know, one of probably the biggest challenges facing our industry for our kids' generation and their kids' generation and is the talent shortage and perpetuating the knowledge that exists in the industry today, and sort of that, for every 4 baby boomers retiring, there's only 1 coming into the industry right now.
Right.
And it's tremendous opportunity for folks getting out of college and in school, but being able to interact with people day to day is really, I think, the key to mentorship. And you can't really interact with them on a phone call once a week or on a Zoom call you've got to be there over their shoulder, and you've got to be a few feet away and, hey, yell at them, hey, David, what does this mean? Hey, I've just got this email pop in, and hey, could you come look at this real quick? And it just, so it makes me nervous that we're all kind of isolated and working remotely and doing okay. But where we've already got a talent shortage, what does this isolation really do? It's, I don't think, helping our cause with trying to pass on that knowledge and groom and support the next generation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. It's been said a number of times. It'll be said probably for as long as this industry exists. It's a relationship industry, right? Like, and it's a relationship industry not just in terms of the companies and the clients. It's a relationship industry amongst the people that are involved in it, and that includes who we might recruit to come in, right, and mentor to bring up to be that next generation. Um, it does lose something, right? It loses something to not be face to face. So I'm I think a lot of people are feeling it. I think there was the pendulum swung one way, and it was like, oh, fantastic! I don't have to wear, I can wear sweatpants to work, and my commute is, my 10 feet to my computer, and that's about it. And I think that I had a novelty for a while, but I think you're seeing a lot of people, the novelty is wearing off to the point where they say, all right, it's good. I can do that from time to time, but I need to, just like you, I need to get into some kind of, some kind of routine that looked a little bit like what it used to before, maybe not full fledged, but I don't know about you, but my trip to, I have a co-working space. My agency, we're decentralized, so we don't have like any central brick and mortar locations, but I have a co-working space that, I would drive into. And for the better part of 2 months, I didn't have that mental trigger, right, of driving into the workspace or driving to the client's place of business. And so I found that it was really tough to kind of like flip that switch to just say, oh, now I'm in work mode. Like, didn't really work, that well. So yeah, I think that'll have a lingering effect in terms of, how we adjust to it, and kind of where we find that medium. What do you think is going to be the longer term impact? I mean, either in the industry or just in our personal lives, the longer term impact of the pandemic and COVID?
Well, in the short term, it's already it's exacerbated an already hard market.
Mm,
There's going to be a lot of you know, claim defense costs and unforeseen directors and officer claims expenses and liability claim expenses that weren't ever rated and modeled for, that are going to have continue to pressure rates. On the long term, the need to socially distance. I think that it's definitely gonna probably put the brakes on this whole open office concept. Squeeze as many people in per square foot as you can, and yes, there will be a lot more flexibility granted, I think, in the long run, and I
yep.
think people will be um, deserving of their ability to, if they can achieve the job and get the job done, and it's not detrimental to the client, then work remotely. And but people will want to come back, and so I think the offset of socially distancing and spacing offices will offset the 20 some odd people that decide to work remotely permanently.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's going to be that. What's the analogy I'm searching for? Like water finding its own level, right? Like I think that's what it's going to be like. The playing field's a little bit different, and we kind of have to, refine that center point, I guess. Um, so let's kind of like transition to something that's a little bit more centric on the CPCU Society itself. So, you're fourth generation. You got involved in the industry. You're, a broker and a risk manager. What really kind of compelled you to get involved in the CPCU Society and the professional development that really comes from, going down that path of getting the designation and getting involved in a professional society like the CPCU?
yes, well, fourth generation in the insurance business, third generation CPCU. I couldn't drop the
Oh, wow.
baton. I didn't, I couldn't be the one to not get it. I had a lot of pressure, and it, I guess one of the things that I failed to mention that I love about this business is unfortunately, my dad and grandfather both passed away when I was in college,
Oh,
and I never had the
sorry.
chance to work with them directly. But have incredible memories of outstanding men and leaders of their family and leaders in the community, and so I still feel connected to them
Mm,
through this job and through this industry. And I'll tell you, not a week goes by that somebody doesn't come up and say, "Owen, wait, were you akin to Arch Owen or Doug Owen?" And yeah, that, and oh my goodness, they helped me with this project or helped me at this phase of my life or this point in my career. And I just think so highly of them. And it, through this industry and through this business, I still feel connected to them.
yeah.
Uh, Even though they're not physically present here on earth. So that to me was kind of just a reason to earn the CPCU was as something my dad, he felt so strongly to follow in his grandfather's footsteps to earn that designation and achieve that same base of knowledge that my grandfather felt so strongly to earn. And they're not here today, but I'm going to go earn that same designation and achieve that same knowledge base that they did, and learn the same things and read the same chapters and take the same test questions that they did. And
Yep.
so it was a way for me to feel connected to them and feel like I'm kind of honoring what they did with dedicating themselves to knowledge and being very professional and consultative and promoting the industry in the right way,
Yep.
with great advice and technical ability, and so that was the biggest impetus. It took a while. Life got in the way, 3 kids and marriage and a lot of blessings. But I guess my original business plan when I started, there's kind of going back. When I started in the business, I was very fortunate. I kind of had 2 bosses, and one boss was, typical business plan. I want to see exactly how many calls you're making, how many meetings you're getting, and appointments and opportunities, and measuring that every week. And then another boss who said, David, the key to this business is knowledge and education, and you need to put together a professional development business plan and an educational business plan. That's as important as the how many cold calls you're going to make business plan, in our opinion. And so, the very first thing I wrote on there was CPCU, and and then I bit off my first exam, and I said, well, this is going to take a little while. And then, of course, it was a multi-phase approach. I think I had heard from my mom, who had heard this from my dad, who had ran an agency and helped mentor and groom a lot of successful producers in the business. There's a 5 to 7 year learning curve. I mean, if they use that old principle, the 10,000 hour principle, that's 10 years of a 9 to 5. So how do you truncate that? Well, okay, you got to step up your business acumen, and you got to step up your professional insurance technical skills. And so my business plan, my educational plan included read the Wall Street Journal every day, and did that for 2 years, and start learning what these CFOs and general counsels and business owners are reading about and concerned about, and start learning their speak of industry. National Alliance is a great organization within our industry, and I earned a few designations through the National Alliance early on. And then I started working on my CPCU track, and then so earning that and getting to attend the annual conference enabled me the opportunity to meet other professionals like yourself, like our chapter president Precious, and I was just blown away to see how many smart, passionate leaders within the industry there are out there. And so having the opportunity to build a network of professionals like these through the society's chapter is invaluable. They challenge me. They're inspiring to me, and so that's I consider it a gift for me to be involved with the chapter and just try to do my part.
That's 2 fantastic answers. I love I know you're from reading your profile. I know you're a person of faith, and so in a long time when you meet your forebears, your father and your grandfather, again, the good news is that they won't have that to hold over your head, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But the pressure's on my children now.
Yes, yeah, that is true. Who's going to take up the torch, right? You touched on something that also comes up quite frequently, and we can't stress enough in any of these profiles. It's like the people who are in the society, regardless of what your walk of life is in the industry, you don't come across people at the society that are, how should I put it? They're not just kind of like role fillers, right? Like the people at the society are having had to go through that process and get the designation and become involved in this professional association. They're not there just to punch a clock, so to speak, right? Like they're there to legitimately step up their game, to do more, to succeed, leave a lasting impact. And so the people are absolutely amazing. People like yourself that have such and such a diverse group of people too, that have like a diverse story about how they got into it, why they got into it. I've always found that to be absolutely fantastic. If you had advice for someone who's young and just getting out of college, or someone who's just starting in the industry as it pertains to getting a designation like the CPCU? What would it be? What kind of advice would you give that person if they came to you and asked?
Well, without question, you've got to, there, in order to provide yourself with the confidence and to provide others with the knowledge that you're serious about this business, you're committed to it, that you've got the skills and talent to take care of their livelihoods, their businesses. This is the foremost preeminent designation.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes across with a CPCU. I mean, I know they mean business. I know they're serious. They're going to challenge the status quo. They're going to challenge me. They're going to, command a level of respect. So, don't give up. Don't get frustrated. It literally took me 8.5 years. I had budgeted to take it 3. And, it's just something that you chip away at a little bit at a time. 30 minutes a night for 3 months leading up to the exam. And then a couple of weekends before the exam, really hitting it hard, was my track. And, if you can find a peer group to go along the journey with you, great. I kind of had colleagues within the offices that had earned it, and would just ping them and ask them, is it really worth it? Gosh, it's so much work, and how'd you do it? And they were just always very encouraging, and positive, and
Yeah.
and I knew it was something that I really wanted, and so no, I guess advice, a little bit, just carve out a little bit of time every evening or every morning to study, and before you know it, you'll be ready. It's not, and once you earn that designation, nobody can ever take it away from you, and it's going to give you a lifetime of career confidence, and it's going to show others that you mean business and you deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I've asked that question. I've done a number of these now, obviously.
Yeah.
And now that you say that, it took until you answered that question that way for me to think about it this way. And tell me if you think I'm on the right track or if I'm off base here. But it's like that really big account, right? That there's no way you're going to get in and just on one interview blow them away and get the account, right? It's that one account where you have to build relationship. You have to constantly keep the lines of communication open every single day or month, or every day, week or month. You're just trying to build that relationship a little bit more and kind of like thaw that ice or chip away at that iceberg until eventually one day it's your time, right? Like it's your time, and the decision maker says, look, we're going to give you the reins, right? We'll give you the keys to the Ferrari, so to speak. From a sales perspective, I think that's exactly what it is, right? It's like, and some of these, look, you don't have to do it piecemeal. I mean, you could drink from a fire hose and just get it as quickly as you want if you want to do it that way as well.
You can
I
go
mean,
the Keystone track. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I am not talented enough to do that. My hat's off to him, but
yeah. I mean, you were in the same boat as I was. I was, I had 2 kids. You had kids, like wife, day job. There's only so many hours in the day. They knew what my drink was at Starbucks every single Saturday when I was there for my 5 or 6 hours to go through my text and my workbook. But that's what it is. It's a process, right? And regardless of how long it takes you to get to the end of the road, it's one of those things where you're not just going to be handed it, right? Like it's not a participation trophy. You have to earn it, and when you earn it, you feel like a piece of a pride, which is awesome. And I'm happy that you brought that up, because that's the first time I've really kind of like thought about it that way for myself. All right,
and
so
I mean, that kind of dovetails back into, what do you love about this business? What piece of advice would you give to young people
yeah,
starting out? It's like, if you're a voracious learner, if you like to read, if you like to kind of geek out on technical nuance, if you're if you're a studier and and a studious person, this is the perfect industry. And that's kind of, I think, what it takes. So once I earned it, I mean, there was this sense of relief, this sense of accomplishment,
Mm.
and there was a little bit of okay, what next?
Yeah.
What's next? Because I played college football, and it's like in a business as technical and skilled and important as insurance is, if you're not pushing the envelope every day and getting 1 degree better, one step forward a little bit every day, other people are going to pass you by, or the
Yep.
knowledge that your clients expect you to have is going to pass you by, and you're going to miss it, and you're going to miss some opportunity to add value for that client. And so, that's what's great about this business. You can never have it all figured out. You can work an entire career and learn something new every single day. There's so much knowledge to be learned that, once you earn that CPCU, it's on to, okay, now it's time to earn my ARM.
Yeah.
Because, that was 8 years ago when I took, principles of law, or the principles of finance, and it's so detailed that you can't ever master it. And so let's get it again, and let's
Yep.
get it again, and every decade earn a new substantial designation to really prove to yourself and to others that you're passionate about this business and you're passionate about serving others
Yeah. So
the
now,
appropriate way.
you played football growing up. Did you grow up in Texas?
Yes. Yeah. Grew up in
Oh,
Texas, in Dallas, and
you
kind of
grew up in
randomly,
Texas and played football? No, that never
yeah,
happens.
it's like religion down here. Friday Night Lights. uh,
What
yep.
position did you play?
So I was a defensive end in high school, and kind of all growing up, and that was sort of the just play with your hair on fire, do whatever it takes to get the quarterback, beat the guy in front of you, don't lose the edge, don't lose contain, and that's what I loved about what the game was just the passion and just trying to, beat your guy, and anyway, that was my position, and then I took the recruiting trips and visits and had a few offers to weigh, and then decided on attending Purdue and studied business and engineering up there. But I guess about the 9th or 10th week of my freshman year, the head coach calls me into his office, and I'm like, oh boy, this isn't good. Usually, nobody gets called into the office, and he says, Owen, sit down. We're moving you to offensive tackle, and that was a tough pill to swallow, because it
Mm.
was all of a sudden a mind shift of just playing with passion and hair on fire and just beating the guy in front of you, to being, all right, all 5 linemen and the tight end and the quarterback and the running back need to be in perfect unison. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very mechanical, and you've got to know what everybody else is doing. And one wrong hand placement or step means that a guy, beats you through your seam. And so, had to kind of learn to adjust to a new mindset. Had to
Mm.
put on 90 pounds, and ended up becoming, a starting right tackle in the Big Ten for 2 years. So
Awesome.
had a great experience. Got freshman year, we won the Big Ten and played with Drew Brees, and got to attend the Rose Bowl, and then was fortunate to earn 4 more bowl trips and graduated with honors from the business and engineering school. So all in all, was very blessed to have had that experience.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I can remember a couple of those years. I'm sorry to say that I don't know if your name stood out at me. I was watching Drew Brees as he played at Purdue for a number of years.
Awesome.
It's probably a good thing that your name didn't stand out, because usually that's because you're having problems on the offensive line. So hopefully that's a good thing. But
That's
yeah,
right.
no, that's
I was he was a senior when I was a freshman. So
yep.
I was actually redshirting that year, and I was still a defensive
Oh,
end for
right.
most of that season. So I picked him off on the scout team one time. I feel like since that, I've made him everything he is today. It really inspired him to become the player he was. No,
If you're
he
watching
was
this,
an
you're welcome, Drew.
awesome firsthand leader. I learned a lot from that experience looking back. I mean, he was the first guy into the weight room in the morning. He was working out with all the linemen. He was the last guy to leave the film room at night. He's as a Heisman finalist and
Yep.
All-American. Usually guys kind of drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Yeah.
But no, he was a leadership by example, put in the work himself, and very humble guy. I remember he called me up freshman year and he said, "Hey, I know you're a freshman. You're from Texas. Don't know anybody up here. Not allowed to have a car, but we get together at the chaplain's house Thursday night for a Bible study. I'd love you to join me if I can come swing by and pick you up." So he was like, you sure you got the right number here?
Yeah.
You know, but awesome guy, and
That's awesome.
great memories.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, again, that's a credit to, I mean, you, first of all, obviously, you know, kind of being able to make it in that world and be successful. And then, you know, at that high of a level, because I mean, let's face it, there's of the, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that play football competitively in America, to be a starting tackle in the Big Ten, you know, there's only a handful of people every single year who get to say that, right? But it's also a credit to the diversity of people that are in this industry, right? Like, we're not a bunch of just pencil pushing nerds, right? Like there's some people who have lived some lives outside of what people would think from, you know, the stereotypes that get flipped around. Um, all right, so one last thing before I let you go. I've taken up enough of your time. I know you have some accounts to work on. So one thing that you answered on your profile, and one thing that we ask everyone, is just kind of the most interesting or unusual place that you've ever visited. And I'm probably an awful person for never hearing about this, but you had mentioned what, one of the national parks up in Alaska?
Yeah, the Kenai National Forest, and that is north of Seward, Alaska, and that was sort of I guess, a treat to myself or a gift. I've always, you know, kind of really enjoyed the outdoors, enjoy camping, fishing, spending as much time outside with my family and kids as I can, and as a, I guess, a former, or I am an Eagle Scout, but so Kenai National Forest, that was a treat to myself to do Outward Bound after college. I had graduated from Purdue, so it's kind of a strange deal. You know, we beat Indiana. We're getting ready for the Sun Bowl. I'm kind of dragging, feeling crummy. Team doctor's like, "Oh, you just got a cold or the flu. You know, stay hydrated, sweat it out. You'll be good." So I
Yeah.
try to grind it out during finals week. I try to grind it out during bowl prep week. 2 weeks later, I've lost like 20 pounds. Head coach is like, "Oh man, you're really sick. You're in no shape for this game. Get back to Dallas." I go back to Dallas. Doctor's like, "You don't have a cold. You've got like the worst case of mono we've ever seen. You know,
Oh,
exacerbated to jaundice, hepatitis, and large heart, spleen. Pretty sick. In the hospital a few days. So 4 years to gain 80 pounds, 4 weeks to lose it." I said, "That's a sign from the good Lord that it's time to hang it up. You know, we're not going to try to make a." I'd started enough time to been invited to the combine. It was kind of initially thinking that senior year of hiring an agent and trying to make a run at the NFL, but
yeah.
it was not meant to be. And so, you know, got to enjoy a final spring semester with a very light workload and be a normal student, and planned a trip to Alaska, Outward Bound, which is, you know, a great kind of outdoor leadership program. And so it was a month in Alaska, 2 weeks ice climbing on glaciers in the Kenai National Park, and then 2 weeks sea kayaking, living on a beach in and out of these fjords of Alaska. And so kind of learned a lot of cool technical camping skills, but saw some of the most beautiful part of the world in America. You know, the truly, as Alaska is called, the last frontier. It was awesome.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well, I'll leave it at that. I don't think I can improve on that story. So I want to say thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to, you know, contribute to this and contribute to what the Agents and Brokers Interest Group is putting together with these profiles and whatnot. Yeah,
Matthew, I want to say thank you to you. I'm grateful that you invited me and you put this on. I mean, you're inspiring with what you're doing on your own time to support the industry and support the institute, the society and CPCU and the industry in general. I mean, promoting education and all of this. You know, you've got a family, so thank you so much for what you do and for having me.
appreciate it. Appreciate
Great
it.
to be with you.
Enjoy the beautiful Texas weather you got going there.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's starting to cool off. We're, you know, Friday Night Lights is kind of a religion, but September 1st is almost an equally big day down here. It's the first day of of dove season. So,
Oh, wow.
Time to get ready for some dove hunts here
Awesome.
shortly. So, yeah.
Enjoy it. Thank you very much,
All right.
David.
Thank you, Matthew.